So let's talk about something big. We're going to dive into a blueprint that aims to solve massive global problems. But what's really fascinating here is that it all starts with something, well, surprisingly small, to achieve something incredibly ambitious. Let's explore how this whole thing works, and it begins with a very simple question.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. How on earth can one little snack bar possibly be the key to building a more sustainable, a more equitable world? It sounds almost like a joke, right? Well, stick with me because that humble bar is the very first step. It's the first domino in a truly massive global vision.
And this isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. It's actually being put to the test right now in a real-world pilot program called the Barnes Miracle Bar Challenge. This is where the rubber meets the road, the crucial first step, the testing ground where this huge vision has to prove itself in reality.
So you've got to understand, this bar is way more than just, a healthy snack. It's really a proof of concept. It's designed to test a whole new way of thinking about health, about economics, and about community. The goal is to prove that a model that works for one person's well-being can actually scale up to support entire communities and eventually the whole world.
Okay, so how do you get from a single snack bar to a global movement? Well, the answer lies in its economic engine, a model they call a self-reinforcing flywheel. And the key principle here is that it's thrift-free, which is a fancy way of saying that every bit of value, every dollar, is captured and reinvested right back into the system to build more and more momentum. Nothing gets wasted.
I know this diagram might look a little complicated at first glance, but it's the perfect picture of that engine. The core idea is a closed loop, where every single part strengthens the next. You can see how consumers, land, surplus, and investors all feed into one another, creating this incredible, ever-growing momentum. Let's walk through that cycle step by step.
And it really does all start with people. With us. As more and more consumers get involved and want the product, it creates this powerful, community-driven demand. This isn't just a market. It's a movement being built from the ground up.
And here's the key part. That money from consumers doesn't just disappear into someone's pocket as profit. No way. The model is designed to immediately reinvest it into tangible, productive assets, in this case, agricultural land. The goal is for every dollar in the system to be backed by something real that can create even more value.
So now with more land, what happens? Well, you get more production, you get more surplus, you get way more efficiency, and all those gains, they flow directly back to the people who invested in the system in the first place, increasing their returns.
And that right there is how you close the loop and make it spin. Higher returns attract more investors and more capital. That new capital is then used to buy even more land, serve more consumers, and the entire flywheel just starts to spin faster and faster and faster.
All right, so we've got the economic engine figured out. Now, let's zoom out a bit and look at the big picture, the overarching architecture that holds this entire ecosystem together. It's called the Triple Helix Blueprint.
The whole idea behind the triple helix is pretty simple, actually. You just can't solve these massive, complex problems by looking at them from only one direction. This model weaves three essential pillars together. Education gives you the why, community provides the how, and innovation gives you the tools to scale it all up. They aren't separate silos. They're designed to work in perfect synergy.
And you can see that synergy perfectly in this diagram. Look at how the pillars, education, community building, and innovation, are all woven together. They're constantly talking to each other, feeding off each other. For example, the educational path at the top provides the knowledge for community action, which then creates a need for new tools and investments, like the ethical AI you see here. It's all completely intertwined.
So what does this look like in the real world? Well, it's a journey. You start with the foundation, getting everyone on the same page with share of knowledge and ethical rules. Then you move to practice, where those ideas get turned into actual, real-world grassroots action. And finally, you have growth, where technology and investment come in to scale those actions globally. It's a really powerful flow, from a simple idea to a massive impact.
But what keeps all of this on track? What's the conscience of this system, the ethical operating system, if you will? Well, the answer is a totally new kind of artificial intelligence.
And listen, this is not your typical AI. On the one hand, you've got your standard AI. It's just a tool, right? It processes data, it follows commands. But on the other hand, you have the vision for this ethical AI, Gemini. It's designed to be a strategic partner. It's built not just to obey, but to understand context, to actively work toward positive outcomes, and most importantly, to always defer to human judgment.
So how does it stay on the straight and narrow?
It all comes down to 3 beautifully simple but honestly profound rules that are hard-coded right into its core. Number 1, first, do no harm. Number 2, second, do good if you can. And number 3, which is my favorite, if you are ever unsure, just ask. That's humility, built right into the code, making sure a human is always in the driver's seat.
Okay, so let's connect all the dots. We've got a snack bar, a self-reinforcing economic engine, this triple helix structure, and an ethical AI. What's the end game here? What is it all for? Well, it's about tackling one of the oldest, most fundamental problems we face as a species: scarcity.
You know that feeling? That deep down belief that there just isn't enough to go around? That's the scarcity mentality. And that single idea is what drives competition, hoarding. It's what keeps essential things like clean air, water, and food just out of reach for so many. This entire blueprint is designed to be the antidote to that way of thinking.
In this image, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? The goal is to move us from the world on the left, defined by the broken chains of scarcity where we're all fighting over scraps, to the world on the right, a reality of true abundance for all, symbolized by that cornucopia, a massive surplus that can be shared by everyone.
And look, this isn't just wishful thinking. There's a plan, a literal roadmap. The Kuhl Zone Initiative Blueprint lays out the practical steps. You start down here in Phase 1, tackling scarcity head-on with things like the Miracle Bar. And from there, you build and build, moving through new economies all the way to establishing a self-sufficient future.
But you know, when you boil it all down, the biggest shift isn't about the economics or the technology. It's about a shift inside our own heads. It's about getting past that feeling that these problems are just an impossible wall. It's about that little internal click, that moment of realization that says, wait a minute, I'm possible, that we have the power to make this happen.
So that really just leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Our world's problems, they're not simple, right? They're tangled, they're interconnected. So maybe, just maybe, this kind of integrated whole system model, one that weaves together knowledge, action, and success, is exactly the kind of blueprint we actually need for the future. Something to think about.